Hey guys, just pardon me for a moment. I had to pick my spot. I probably should have done that before I went live, huh? So, I know this is a total pop-up surprise. I did not plan on going live today, and then I knew that I needed to go live today, and then I was like, God, I really don't want to go live. I really don't want to do it. So here I am, live anyway. And I want to talk to you guys about reconnecting after trauma. And I know trauma sounds like a pretty dramatic word, but trauma is really the only way that we can put it. Because what your mind and your heart goes through your body sees is a very real thing. And a lot of these, hey Leslie, a lot of the things that we go through, and as always, I'm going to speak as a mom and a female, so I can't speak for all the men in the world. I can't talk about the single ladies, single moms, none of those things. But what I do know is that whenever we go through a period where we're having a really hard time trusting God, and we're having a really hard time, we want to believe, but sometimes anywhere you look around, you just can't see Him. In our minds and in our hearts, we retreat. And it took me a long time of beating myself up and saying, I used to be a much better mom. Anyone who's my friend has heard me say this. I used to be a much better mom. I used to play with my kids. I used to have fun with my kids. Oh my gosh. I still remember whenever we bought this house and Caleb was 3, I was devastated. Because we were moving things in, and I said, baby, I really need you to go stand over there. And he says, I'm in your way, Mom. And I was like, baby, you would never be in my way. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that I made you feel this way. And now I'm like, go away. So I have this whole parallel. Well, I have before crap and then after crap. And the differences are so huge that we can beat ourselves up about it. We can go on and on and on about it. And you can, whatever you feel like doing at night, whenever you cry and you're like, how come I can't? That is, for me, it was 4 years. It was 4 years of pain and disconnect is what it was. And whenever I started my emotional healing, it was not on purpose. I was using oils because I had really elevated amounts of stress, and Keegan's mom was like, hey, I want you to try this. Okay, cool. Well, what I did not know was that as those feelings were addressed, it also addressed the reasons I had those feelings. So I kind of spent the last year walking around going, okay, this is new. Okay, this is new. Oh my gosh, I feel this way. And the Holy Spirit is kind enough to take the time and give you directions. And if you're hearing, so the first ones were like, be thankful. Be thankful for your gift. You really need to really stop saying, oh my gosh, why do I have to do this? I don't want to do this, whatever. Okay, I can do that. I can be thankful for my gift. Okay, now you need to go talk to so-and-so because they're going through the same thing you were just going through. And even though you barely limped out of there, you need to go talk to them so they know they're not alone. Okay, God, I can do that. And so all these steps came along. And guys, sometimes I'm kind of slow because I've been on this walk for a whole year, and I only just realized that there was a process to the reconnecting. That whole time that I was on guard and I was hurting, I did not give myself permission to connect to my family, because a guard, someone who lacks security and is the security at the time, whenever you don't have enough faith to let God be your security, you cannot engage with the fun stuff. You have to be, the guy with the mic and the glasses, and you're just like, I got you. And so whenever I spent 4 years in this time, whenever I can relax and I can look around at my family, I'm like, I don't know what to do. My kids want me to play with them. Like, how do you do that? How do you encourage? I don't know how to encourage. Well, Becky, that's a lie, because you do know how to encourage. You had Keegan, you had Caleb, you had David, you had all of these people around you that you were encouraging. You had godchildren who came and spent the weekend at your house every weekend. You can. You just have to remember. And so he had to walk me through this whole period. And because sometimes I'm slow, I only just wrote them down today. I kind of walked through step by step, like, what did he have to do to my heart? So I'm here to share with you guys both what I used, what helped me, and the steps that he walked me through, so that if you need the flat out instructions, if you are having so much static and so much time in your recovery, and you're in the waiting and you're in the obeying, that you can see the places that you can start. And even if you're in that place where you don't have any kind of anchor, if you want to hope so badly and you want to have faith so badly, guys, in this, I am absolutely preaching to the choir. This is not a skill that I have learned. I may have walked through this for a year, and I may have had 4 years of darkness. I could do everything that he tells me to do and live to be 112, and I can guarantee you that he's going to go, whenever I come to meet him, he's going to be like, Becky, you did great. But we need to talk, because we still have these things, and we're made that way. We're made to be fallible. And if we can maybe take the steps to putting our trust back in him, and the steps to reconnect to our families and in our right place, and then we can let him be our security, then maybe we'll have a few less things to answer to ourselves. We'll have a little bit less guilt to carry. And you can, the word that came to me was dissociate, that I have dissociated for those 4 years. And 4 years doesn't seem like that long, but you know, and I know that it's a lifetime whenever you're depressed, right? Whenever you're afraid and all of these things, that's a lifetime. And the word that he gave me was dissociate. And I was like, I do not have, multiple personalities in these things, but it's absolutely what we do. We look at our families and we claim them and they're ours and we love them, but we have to step away and not associate with that intimacy, because it requires so much of who we are. So what I want to do is help you guys and spell out the steps for you, and maybe a few stories. I'm hoping this will only be 15 minutes, but I mean, who are we kidding? Y'all know me before today. So I'm going to give you my steps that he gave me to plug myself back in hopes that it helps someone. And I want to tell you guys, you are more than welcome to share this video, tag your friends, whatever. All my stuff's public for a reason. Because I stopped hiding. Well, because he's been slowly showing me what I have to offer, right? So first, you have to give yourself permission to plug back in. You have to give yourself permission to say, this is my family, and I've been blessed with them, and I deserve them about as much as I deserve anything, but I'm thankful that they are mine and that I am healed and my grace has already been given. And so I get to be a part of this family. That you don't get permission to check out anymore. Relationship death is one of the steps towards physical death. And if you're having any of those thoughts, I'm going to encourage you to get help, because whether it's from your pastor, whether it's from your friend, whether it's from the internet, because I do believe that I had postpartum depression that was not diagnosed because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know to go to my pastor or my doctor and say, something's not right here, because our first person that we want to say is not right is us, right? So give yourself permission to plug back in. You are giving yourself permission to live, because the people in front of you, your people, they are living whether you are participating or not. And your life and their lives are made for relationship and that living together. So the first thing you have to do is give yourself permission to be a part of that. Have fun. And if you don't remember how, learn how. Baby steps. Just like anything else. I have felt absolutely ridiculous sitting at a table and coloring with my children, and my youngest is 4 years old. I have been frustrated teaching them how to play sorry and counting, and my latest calling is homeschool, and I'm like, excuse me, people, there are rules for a reason. Well, you know what? Sometimes they just don't like rules. Sometimes I don't like rules. And I've had to look at myself and go, who said these were rules? Because that rigidity is yet another symptom of that dissociating of, oh no, if I don't stand firm, then we might all die. And that's a very real fear. My family might die. My faith might die. I myself might die. My children. I had a huge, humongous fear of loss that I might have to talk about another day. Huge. That if I wasn't the perfect mom, I had this imaginary idea, oh my God, my kids are going to go to school and they're going to tell some story that's totally out of context. I'm going to lose my children. Totally unfounded. But it was one of those things that was very, very real to me because I was clinging so tightly to everything that I had. And so I had to be so rigid that I could not have fun. When I tell you that just yesterday, y'all, I'm telling on myself so bad, but you know what? If it helps one other person, you're welcome. I kept feeling like I needed to get in the pool with my kids. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of context. I am not a small woman. I am not. You can't throw me very far. Okay? I don't care who you are. And this pool is like 30 inches deep. Yeah. 30 inches deep. And it's like 8 feet across. It's the one with the little inflatable ring at the top, you know? Not very big. And I kept feeling like I needed to get in the pool with the kids. And I was like, I'm not getting in the pool with the kids. It's like, get in the pool with the kids. No, I will not. And Jonah had been, y'all watched my last video where you can hear my kids screaming like banshees in the background. The pool just inspires feelings. And I was like, fine, I'm getting in the pool. Went in the kitchen, got supper to a point where I could put it on a simmer, and got in the pool. I took one step towards this pool, and Jonah was like, oh shit, I'm about to die. Yes, sir, you are, right? Because, oh my gosh. No. Take another step into the pool, and he's like, that's it. I'm dead. The look on his face was like, I did it now. Fine. I sit down, and they go, what are you doing? Him and Libby, what are you doing? I'm getting in the pool with y'all. But why? I don't know. I just felt like I should get in the pool. Really? Yes. And then they proceeded to splash me in the face and jump on me. And we had a grand old time in the pool for an hour. But my children did not even know how to recognize that mom was having fun. And I was like, this is just sad. One of the other things that we started doing this last year was I put on music while I'm cooking. And we all dance in the kitchen like crazy people. And we take turns, and I have to tote Jonah's 70-pound 6-year-old self around the kitchen because he wants to dance with me. And I thought, you know what? I never danced with him. And I can do that now because I have permission to do that. And I put on worship music, and we all worship together. And my baby begs me, can you put on the 99? Sure, I can. And these are all baby steps towards having fun. No, I'm not going to push my big self down a slide at the park. It's not going to happen because I stick to the sides. But it's one of those things that I'm okay with taking them to the park now. Because another that's not even on the paper is being stuck in your space because it's the only place you feel secure. You don't feel secure outside of your home, which we all know that cycle just leads you back to depression. But if we're not even confident enough in ourselves to be able to give them fun, then it's more things that we could beat ourselves up later with regret. The next thing is to look them in the eyes. I'm really, in the past, I'm a lecturer, okay? I might spank you. You will get a spanking, but I'm really good at lecturing. Like, master at lecturing. Drives my husband nuts. And I like to think that it's because I'm right, because I usually am. I don't say anything unless I'm right. And that's not a pride thing. It's a I don't want to eat my words later thing, right? Well, it can also turn into ranting. And there was a time that Jonah had done something, particularly Jonah. And I was fussing in the car. And I was like, God, why would you do that? And I hear, look at him. Look at him. Oh, I don't have to look at him. I know he's going to be upset, right? Look at him. Fine. Y'all like the way I'm obedient, right? So I turn around and I look at him. And this kid has the weight of the world on his face. So this little thing that we get disconnected because there's so many rules and there's so much structure and there's so many things that you have to do the right way and everything else is such a bother. To them, they're not doing anything right. And what hit me the hardest was for Jonah. This was basically Jonah's whole memory from the time that Jonah was 2 until last year. Actually, probably more like whenever Jonah was 8 months old. 8 months old is whenever my household fell apart. And to not see the damage to him, because I was so busy watching everything else. I'm too busy doing and seeing what I'm doing. I couldn't see the damage that was happening to my baby's heart. And so to look at his face, look them in the eyes whenever they're being fussed at, to get down on their level is not any kind of weakness or, lowering yourself from alpha or whatever people are going to tell you. Sometimes it's so that you can understand the way that your words are landing. And the same thing with my husband. There's a lot of things that to me is just duh. To me, it's very obvious. And when you turn around and look at them and you realize that you have beaten this person down with your false security, and no, it's not always that case, but a lot of times, if you replay yourself in your head, you will realize that a lot of the things that you were saying over and over again are your insecurities manifested onto that person. The way that you see things and you perceive things is not at all the way that it was intended, and it was not at all their understanding, and it's not the way that it was meant to land on you. It's the way we see it because that's our reality at the moment. The next thing was to tell them what you want to hear. I have actually advised other people to do this. I have a friend of mine whose son, he struggles with some things that happen to be the same things that she's struggling. And I had a vision. One day she's sitting at my table and she's telling me, he needs a mentor. He needs people to do this. He needs people to do that. And he's this age. And I saw her holding a bowl that was full, and her son was in front of her and her parents were behind her. And she kept turning around and encouraging them, frustrated, for her child, for them to put something in the bowl so that she could give it to him. And the bowl was already full. And that was, momentous, huge. But yet I never took it for myself until I watched a video that edification and encouragement or and it was a business building thing. But in reality, to put it very, very plainly, is tell them what you wanted to hear. Tell them what you wish you had been told. So all of these things that were not given to you, it is brought to your attention for a reason, for you to turn around and give it back. For you to turn to them and to say, baby, you're doing such a great job. I'm so proud of you. It's that simple. I really like hanging out with you. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you being so good in the store today. I know that probably wasn't easy because it's not when you're 6, right? And so I'm really good about having the pep talks before we go in the store, but I'm choosing to remember the encouragement when we leave the store. This feeling of saying, hey, I see you and I see what you did and I recognize the effort that you put into that. As the good kid, I needed to hear that. And I didn't always, 90% of the time, because that's not the way my parents were raised and that's not the way their parents were raised. And we get to forge these new things in our families. So tell them what you want to hear. The next one is to feel your feelings. That instead of shoving them down, I've noticed that they like to snowball. They like to compound. And I heard on the radio at one point, it's just random fact, that psychologists say that it's actually mentally healthy for you to watch sad movies or emotional movies because it gives your mind a chance to release all of the tears and you get to go through the crying process that we have suppressed at other times. And I was like, wow, that makes perfect sense. What I've noticed in myself in my own emotional journey, super emotional, is that when you have those moments of grief, all of the other times that you've been sad, they roll up and they come up, and it's almost like the law of attraction. Oh, wait, she's grieving. We can come now. Everybody come and get together. Let's do this. And so you can easily look at that as, oh my gosh, I'm always going through all of these things. All these things are wrong with my life, because that's the pattern of a depressed person. Just while we're talking about it, I already dropped the D word, right? So whenever you're going through all of those things, all those clues and all those breadcrumbs that you get are all of those times that you wanted to feel, but it wasn't the time. So the times whenever you've had a loss in your family and you're dealing with it so that you're your children don't get upset, and you don't want them to get upset, and you don't want to upset your parents, and then you have that moment where you walk into your grandma's living room and she's not there. And it was 2 years ago, but it was yesterday. And so you have that time whenever it comes up. You have that time that you can process these things. And so if you are sad about one thing and something else comes up, it's not time for a pity party. It's time to just cry. It's time to validate those feelings for yourself and to look at those and say, this is deeper for me than I thought it would be. Grief lasts so much longer than we let it. Grief lasts for years, because as long as you knew that person and they affected you, or that situation sticks with you, it's as long as you need to grieve it. And if you had fear of loss, or if you had fear of insecurity, or you've had financial fear, you've had your feelings hurt, I'm going to tell you right now that an emotional pain is also a physical pain. If you can feel it in the pit of your stomach whenever you think about a certain person, your body reacts to that feeling. And so the next time you have that feeling in your stomach, to you it's confirmation that you can't trust people like that. And what it really is saying, Becky, you need to figure out why you feel that you can't trust these people. I'm going to let you know what's hanging out with you, but you're not going to know that if you don't feel your feelings, because they're not your enemy. While you're feeling them and you're validating them is the most important thing, is to not brush them off and say, this is so stupid. I went through something just a few weeks ago that subconsciously I did not even realize when I left the store. I was like, I can't do this. I just can't. I don't even know. And I did not even realize I was saying this. So I was like, who is talking? Who is saying this? I can't do it. I just can't. I won't do it. I just can't do it. I just can't. What? That was coming out because it needed to. And so I had to stop and think, oh my gosh, when's the last time that happened to me? Oh, it was that time. Okay, well, let's go back. Yeah, that's a trend for me. I need to really look at that. I need to really look at why I don't think I'm going to be able to make ends meet. I need to look at why I don't think that our needs are going to be met. Why do I not think that I'm seen and important? And so all of these things, they are for me to realize the weaknesses in me, but that's not going to happen if you're not validating your feelings as you're feeling them. Because when I say feel your feelings, I don't mean sit there and wallow in them and be like, oh my gosh, I suck, poor me, and then text all your friends. Don't get drunk and text. Just don't do it. Don't get drunk and talk to your husband. Don't get drunk, period, whenever you're sad. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Tried that. It doesn't work. So, and I can honestly say that I haven't done that in like a year and a half. So research your value is the next one. And I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, because it's not like you're going to find an invoice somewhere saying, who's watching? Kimberly Manguray. It's not going to say, okay, Kimberly Manguray, she's worth this much because she has this trait and she's whatever. No, that's not going to happen. What I mean by that is, if you cannot see your own value right off the top of your head, then you need to look around and see what you have of worth to the people around you. Do a real study on it. Look around and see how many friends you have encouraged. Look and see how many people have you prayed for. How much have you brought to the table as a big picture? I'm not talking about your laundry. I'm not talking about your dishes. Nobody come in my kitchen right now. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the impact that you have made at any point in your life on anyone. If you could picture yourself, like, let's talk Avatar. I'm a mom. I don't even care. The blue people on the planet. Whenever you look at the fact that we are all connected, whether it's the 6 degrees of separation, whether you're going to talk about your energy, whether you're going to talk about the spirit, whether you're going to talk about your personal relationships that you actually know, like, let's talk about the impact that you have made across your whole life with every single person that you are connected to, whether you make them laugh, whether you have offered to go burn somebody's house down for them, whether you have picked them up whenever they needed a ride home. I mean, anything. I'm talking if you bought them lunch. Anything that you bring to the table is not discredited to anyone but you. You are the only person who is discrediting what you have to offer. And I want you to think really hard about that, because there's a lot that we all bring to the table. And sometimes you are the person who has to prove to yourself what you're worth. So if you were doing it for anyone else, list off the same things for you that you would list off for them. We're really bad about not doing that for ourselves. And your friends can say, I don't know what I would do without you. Thank you so much for listening. And you're like, well, yeah, I'm your friend. That's what I do. And then you just blow it off. Boop. So maybe this one time we should imagine there are tally marks. Let's imagine that they're only on the plus side, because we know that the negative side has been forgiven. Do the research for yourself. Look at what your relationships have done and what you have actually invested. Your obligation that you feel to be a good parent or a good spouse, not everyone else is burdened with those. Sometimes your morals and your fair treatment, your willingness to hear people out before you call judgment, those are the things that people value, the things that we take for granted and see as just the way things are supposed to be. The last one is going to be to recognize your coping mechanisms. In the past, mine were staying on my phone all the time. I could literally leave the room without leaving the room by playing on my phone. At one point, I was the person who watched TV all day long because my anxiety was so bad. I was like, I just need to check out for a while. Needing to constantly be aware of other people's business. That's another way to feel important whenever you don't feel important. What's another one? Reading. And I don't mean reading because it's fun. I mean reading getting completely engrossed all the time so that you can tune out. I don't know if it's a dad thing or not, but Mom's has this amazing capability to completely static everything in the background. I wouldn't call that a coping mechanism. I would actually call that survival. But there's many things that we do to mentally remove ourselves without actually physically removing ourselves. Sometimes it's making up excuses for other people. I could reason a reason to death. For a very long time I did. For a very, very long time, I would catch myself lying for people so that they didn't look bad. And in return, it cost me a lot of myself. I wasn't being true to myself. And if you are not being true to who you are designed to be, then it is going to be constantly running into a brick wall over and over and over again. And it just repeats that cycle of guilt and unworthiness. And none of those things are what you were made for. Not a one of those things is where you were made to thrive. You were not, I promise you, you are not created and put on this earth to make excuses for anyone else. If God wanted people to make excuses for everyone else, then I'm pretty sure that he would have assigned us with each our own little newsboy to just go around yelling things for us. That was not necessary. If that was the case, he would have put a billboard on our forehead so we can make our own excuses. So I could be literally, I got 4 hours of sleep last night. Don't mind the hair. Just took a shower. First one in 3 days. Nobody cares. All of those things that if you feel that it is worth... See how I'm going to say this. If you feel that describing what really happened needs embellishment, then that is a coping mechanism. Whether it is to prove your own value, whether it is to prove someone else's value, or whether it is so that no one else questions your decisions. And that's what I'm going to say about that. From that, I'm going to say that one thing that I had to learn in this plugging back in is that love is not enabling. It is valuing someone enough to not let it slide. To say, I see you. I see what you're doing. I love you, and I love you enough to not let it slide. It's not reproach. It's not judgment. But I'm also not blind, right? Loyalty is not seeing absolute perfection in your mentors and people that you love. Loyalty is being able to admit that we all falter and they're still an amazing human being anyway. So you can have all your faults, you can have all your flaws. I'm going to love you anyway, and I can learn from you even if I don't agree with 100% of what came out of your mouth. Now, I don't know about anyone else. One of the things that I had to learn was that in that loyalty, that being loyal to myself and to God is recognizing the flaws in other people and having compassion for what they were going through. One of the things that I walked through was my dad was a compulsive liar. It was horrible. And he passed away. And the biggest part of the disconnect with a compulsive liar is that they truly believe what they are saying. And so you can't argue your case. You might as well just not even waste your breath because they truly believe what they're saying. And for these last 2 years, my heart hurt for him because he was stuck there. To him, it was reality. And so many opportunities ran away and were lost because he was stuck there and he was bound by his own web, and he couldn't let his cards fall. And that there's nothing I can do about that. And I can take away what I learned from him, and I can still love someone that I didn't like. I could still love and mourn someone that I don't even know how to say it. I could be in the same room with him, but we couldn't have too many conversations without some kind of flare up. So the last 2 months of his life happened to be the first relationship we had in 3 or 4 years. And so a lot of that was spent with me biting off half my tongue. But I knew that he was dying. And I knew that I needed to reconcile that. And it's almost like his death taking that 2 months gave us the time to work through the things and to realize what was actually important is what it came down to. And it gave him time with all of his family. It gave him, a chance for that emotional healing and to see all of his grandkids. And he did. And so all of those other things, I could still be mad. I could still throw plates and I could do whatever. I could stomp around and throw a hissy fit. And what good would it do? And I can honestly say that my dad's passing was the beginning of the beginning of my awakening and seeing all is not right. And I am just so tired of pretending that it is. And to realize that loyalty is learning from someone else's mistakes with love. That's, if I had to put it into words, loyalty is learning from someone else's mistakes with love. Loyalty is saying, I love my granny to pieces. She had a mighty religious spirit on her, but she led me to Jesus. She knew that was what she knew. She was completely self-led. And so the fact that she had a religious spirit was just something that I had to realize so that I didn't replicate that. But everything else she taught me was solid gold. There are no mistakes. No mistakes or accidents. No mistakes by anyone else that is poured into us was brought to us by mistake. And so I have absolute loyalty and respect and honor for my grandmother. And I can also make the effort to not repeat the same mistakes that she did because she wouldn't want me to. And I think that there's been a very large disconnect in what loyalty and honor is for a lot of us. And I'm not getting ahead of myself whenever I say that, because I can honestly tell you I've had that conversation at least 30 times this year. Just this year. The next thing I'm going to tell you, and this is the last one, is that there's nothing wrong with you. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. If you need me to just take a sound clip of saying that and send it to you, I will gladly do so. Because when we feel far from God, we do what we feel we have to do. We do what we feel our instincts are. And we bring ours close and we gather and we go on guard. And we look around and we make sure that all that we have is safe and all these things. And whenever we don't feel that we are covered, then we act like we are the covering. There is nothing wrong with you for bringing in yourself. And you don't have anything to make up for. You don't have whatever you feel. is on your heart to go and reconcile one at a time. I am not saying this is like AA where it's like, no, you have to go make all of these things right and then you can come back and you get your little badge. That's not how this works. You have to realize and accept your forgiveness, that you did not do anything wrong. You did not have to make up for anything, and that you can step out of there now. That leads you back to the first step of giving yourself permission to plug back in. To plug back into your church family, to plug back into your relationship with God, to plug back into your faith and your hope and your friendships and your relationships, and believe for that healing in your family, to start breaking the ties that may or may not have been supposed to be there. Maybe you need to go heal that yourself, whatever. That's between you and God. But the first step is realizing that you don't have to prove anything. You don't have anything to make up for with God. You don't have anything that you did wrong in your trauma, in the trauma that you walked through, and the things that hurt you both physically and mentally and spiritually and emotionally. That if we were looking at a gunshot victim, you'd be like, well, of course you're limping. Of course you are. I mean, they shot you in the kneecap. You're lucky you can walk right now. Like, kudos to you. Good you for walking. So I'm going to tell you right now, a freaking man for you walking. Hallelujah that you are deciding to heal. Praise God that you have started on the walk to forgiveness and looking around you and like, what? You have opened your eyes. I'm going to do that for you. Because when you look around and you're like, I can feel and I can see, and like, I've had 3 good days in a row. Kudos to you. Okay? So if nobody else is going to do that for you, I'm going to do that right now. So the last thing I'm going to tell you guys is what I used for myself. Okay? Whenever I told you guys, all of this started with oils. So, but I'm going to get real super specific. This is not, hey, go get the starter kit. This is what's in the starter kit. No. This is what I'm going to tell you. When I had my very first Zyto scan, I didn't even know about all the oils yet. Like, I was like, ooh, oils. I was so excited. They worked. I felt great. And I had a Zyto scan, and I came back for 1 oil. 1. And I was like, well, that's weird. The other one was Citrus Slam. And I literally looked at Caroline and was like, are you calling me fat? So the 1 oil, I'm thinking I'm doing good. I'm like, lay it on me. What is my 1 oil? I bet it's frankincense. Oh, I love frankincense. It wasn't frankincense. It was Ula Family. And I was like, what is that? I've never heard of that. And it helps with feelings of unconditional love. Now, you know, and I know that whenever a machine can tell you that you don't have feelings of unconditional love, you're like, well then, okay, called me on my crap right away. And I did, and I used it. And the other ones that was before that, honestly, it all started with stress away, because I told y'all I was supremely stressed. And frankincense is like the get over yourself. Frankincense is like, okay, you've done enough thinking about you. Now, like, get grounded and just get back up here. Because you need to get up here. Because all that crap you're doing down there, you're just getting more and more dirty. Just get up, right? The other one was, I already said awaken, was release. Because one thing that has been brought to me infinitely clear, like, you cannot put things away or release things. You cannot... If you can imagine your emotional problems, okay? They're like a hole. This hole is filled with your emotional problem. And whenever you pull it up, what does the Bible say about the voids? It comes back and it says, oh, look, it's been swept clean and empty. Let me put something back in it, and I'm going to bring my friends. And so what I have learned with emotional healing, when you take something out, when you pull it out by the root, you had better be sure that you put something else back in. And the main one for me for that was release. Release helps you on an emotional level to say, this is not good for me anymore, and I'm going to let it go. Release is the let it go oil. I've said that a few times, and Colette actually totally separate. She made a graphic that says the same thing. Release, let it go. Because whenever you can let it go, all of the other ones, and the awareness of yourself and the relationship with God that you're starting, and the awakening that you're looking around you and realizing there is so much more than I have been letting myself have. There is so much more than I have been letting myself have. Then you are eager to fill it back up with faith and hope and love and peace and well-being. And you owe that to yourself and to your family and to your own healing, so that just pat yourself on the back. This is step one. So I really hope that I can help you guys. I'm going to try to take these and put them back. I'm going to try to put them in the comments so that anybody who wants something to reference can have something to reference. Thank you guys for letting me be vulnerable with you and real with you. And like I said, if you have anyone you want to share this with, share it, tag them. I don't care. Write it in the sky, send them a message, whatever you need to do. I'm here for you. I'm here and available to talk if anyone wants to talk. So I love you guys.